I know Craig's got a lot of questions, that's why he's here. Just kind of peel back the onion on how Shelby's been successful in this business, how she's grown her business. Obviously, it's not something that just snap your finger and it gets done. It takes years and years of consistency and a lot of hard work and doing things like she just said, getting on a ladder and fixing things, providing that full concierge level of service that we all talk about on a daily basis, of going above and beyond and doing the right thing for people. If you do the right thing for people, you're good people, you have a good heart, you build those relationships. That's how, to me, you become successful in this business, and I think Shelby would agree with that statement. It takes a lot of hard work and a lot of effort and consistency, but anybody can do it. It just, you got to take steps. So please, Shelby, welcome, and go from here.
I would rather have casual.
Very casual, yes, yeah, very casual. Whatever makes you comfortable.
Okay, good. So here we are. Okay, so I got my license in 2004, and I went to work for RE/MAX for about 2 weeks and realized that they were not my people. So I left there, went to work for Century 21, which was this very small brokerage. There was probably 10 people in the whole office, which was a good place for me to start out. Was there for about 3 years and left there, came here in 2008, and I've been here since. The market when I got in was kind of somewhat similar to how it is right now. It was really moving quickly. You just kind of stood there and had business. So that definitely helped get me started and get a base for myself to work off of. Why did I get into business? I had just graduated from college and I was bartending, and there was a group of people that always came in on Friday night, and one of them was a Century 21 broker, and she kept approaching me, and I was like, my parents are going to kill me if I just finish school and I go get my real estate license. But that's what I did. So here we are, and it worked out okay. She was great. Again, she was the broker at Century 21, so that's where I stayed for a while and really learned a lot from her. So you want to know what starting out? How did I get started? I know I told you this.
I want to know, Shelby, when you first came in, where were the majority of your customers coming from?
Okay.
In other words, have you lived here your whole life? Did you have a big group of friends?
So
parents know people?
I moved here in '99 and got my real estate license in '04. So I was working at Outback, bartending there, and I will say that did help a little bit. I did, you speak to a lot of different people and a lot of regulars because of the fact that you're behind that bar.
Sure.
So I did end up selling houses to those folks, or selling their houses, and I still do actually. So that was a help, but also at that time the market was so saturated. I mean, it was with buyers. It was it was low inventory, but there was a lot of for sale by owners, because you could put your home on the market, and we were getting, if you put a listing up that was, our price points were a little lower. If you put a listing up for $150,000, you were likely to have an offer before you even had people go through it. They weren't even looking at it, they were just writing offers contingent upon you. So there was a lot of for sale by owners, and a lot of what I did was I approached the for sale by owner. And I did not approach the for sale by owner with the, hey, let me list your home. It was more, where are you going? Can I help you go there? Can I help you find that? Can I email you some listings? With the hope that if I did find them something that they liked, then they would be more apt to speak to me about listing their home, because at that point it was so competitive, you couldn't write an offer with a contingent upon, just like now, you couldn't write an offer contingent upon closing. They were never going to take it, especially if you were for sale by owner. It's not going to happen. So the hope was, I'm going to get you to find something that you love, and then you're going to want to write an offer, and when you figure out that you're not able to do that, then you're going to get into the business of your listing.
Sure.
So there was a lot of that. Floor was also a little bit different too. I sat floor like it was my job. It was all I did. And then, so I think between the two of those, that's probably where most of my business came from. And at that time, do you guys remember Homes and Land in the real estate book?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I invested a lot of money into that, because the Zillow was there, but it wasn't what it is today. So people were still picking those magazines up, and I received a lot of phone calls and stuff back from them.
From your ads.
Yeah, so, I mean, I've been doing this for 16 years, so the market has definitely changed with how people are finding their information. So what I did then, could that be done again and have the same? Probably not. Yeah.
Okay, so at what point from 2004 to 2020, Shelby, do you go, I now have enough business that is just strictly referral, I no longer have to shop for business?
I don't ever do that.
But
Oh, okay.
Majority of yours are referrals.
Probably, yeah, referrals, relocation, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. One thing that I have realized in the last couple of years that I never took advantage of before, because I just wasn't organized enough, was to farm the people that I've already done business with. I think that had I done that from the very beginning, I can't even imagine where I would be right now, but I was not dedicated enough, disciplined enough, or organized enough to do those things. And I know that postcards aren't the end all be all, and some people will tell you that you should be contacting your sphere 3 to 4 times a month. I'm not gonna do that. I personally would not wanna be contacted that many times a month.
Exactly.
So I don't buy into that, but I do now monthly send a postcard or a text message, or Kevin had talked about these pecan pies that this lady did. So I didn't do it this year because of COVID. I was afraid to eat anything. But the year before, I did a bunch of these little pumpkin bun cakes and put them in boxes. I got a tremendous feedback from that. And then I did, have you ever heard of booing a little kid at Halloween? Yeah, so I did that for a few of my customers that had little kids. I got feedback from that. For Valentine's Day, I'm gonna do these little packages where it's just a cookie and a little bit of decorating stuff for little kids. It's just anything I can think to do that they're going to receive it and enjoy, just to put my face back into their head. That's all I'm trying to do. I really, really wish I would have been doing that from the get-go. The other thing that I never bought into that I do think is true, because I've seen, last year I had 3 deals in the Oaks. And so I was like, all right, I've got 3 things going in here. I'm going to be dedicated on farming that neighborhood. Since doing that, I've had 2 listing appointments within that neighborhood. So I do think there is something to it. Now, I had a little bit of a leg up because I could say, hey, I sold this one, hey, I sold this one, hey, I sold, so that, I'm not gonna deny that helps. But I think there's not enough agents that consistently do that, to where if you do, it eventually will stick in the minds of, you can't do it once and then hope they're gonna call you.
How much of a deep dive do you take into the farming of that area? Are you working through all the statistics? Are you doing, like we've been taught, Shelby, to, go through this massive spreadsheet and figure out how many people are in there.
Exactly.
Our competition.
So, yeah,
Do you feel like
I
it's
agree
even
with
necessary?
that. Yes, so I agree with the fact that if you're starting out, the reason that I picked the Oaks is because I just got lucky. I had 3 things, and I had 2 of them that were going to be selling way more than anything had sold in there before. So I felt like I just had a good chance of grabbing some attention. But if I were just starting out looking for a farming, I would definitely go in there. And if somebody is, if you see somebody selling, I think what is the magic numbers, like 10 or 20%? If they have 10 or 20% of that, move on, find a different neighborhood. And I also think I used to spend so much time thinking I had to do the whole neighborhood. Well, you can't afford that. I mean, you just can't consistently afford that. So one of the other pieces that I've had in my, I can't remember what the print, whatever, deluxe, is a spreadsheet from Oakleaf. And that I did the statistical on that, like when did they buy, what was their, their median income, that kind of stuff. I am dedicated now where, since I've seen what the Oaks is doing, I'm going to email or start mailing those people as well on a regular basis. I don't know if I would do it completely that way. I would probably pick like Chestwood Chase and just do all of Chestwood Chase. So it's a condensed environment and those people are seeing your name whenever you put the sign in the yard. But do I think we can psychoanalyze and overthink things? All day, every day. So I personally would pick a neighborhood that is going to be you wanna see turnover. I mean, if only 1 or 2 homes a year sell, well, that's not worth your investment. So, you know, don't pick $100,000 neighborhood, pick something where you're gonna make a little money.
What if you had analyzed that neighborhood, Shelby, and you saw that there was just this agent that you personally knew, that was male, that was just dominating it? Wouldn't you be like, let me just get a piece of that as a female. Let me go in there and give them the option of a female realtor.
No, I'm kind of
You
over
just
that
would stand
point
back
in
to
my
it.
life. Like,
Okay.
I'm just like, sounds like work.
I'm curious because typically there are more females in this business, but it's
Yeah, I
still, it's
would agree
still
with
white
that.
man privilege in this business.
Yeah.
You look at.
Sure. I
It
would,
is.
yeah.
So I'm curious for the female perspective, what
I
you see
really don't-
differently for that.
Gosh, I guess maybe because it's so female dominated, I never really had to think about that.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't even really look to see if it's a male or a female. I looked at how many of these homes sold, and were any of these agents repeat? And if it was, I think it was 20% that Mark
Yeah,
had
like
told
20
me.
to 25 is what
Yeah.
I would look at.
So if anybody sold in that neighborhood more than 20% of the volume, then I just moved on.
Okay.
Because, you know, and there's YouTube videos that you can watch about knocking a heavy hitter off of their totem pole. And sure, why? I mean, not why go after the business, but why make it harder for yourself already in a market where you're competing for inventory as bids? So I personally, those are 2 things I wish I would have done sooner and have been consistent with, because I do think there's something to that. I was never one to really walk the neighborhoods and knock the doors. The for sale by owner knocking on the door was terrifying enough. It's terrible. So
that's because you're female or just in general?
Just in general, there's nothing like knocking. Nobody wants you to be at their door, so you're like,
Exactly.
how are you? That was always rejection enough. You know, I just can't imagine going door to door and doing that. But Debbie Shagnia, you guys ever heard of her? That's how she started enjoying the Great Plantation. She knocked on doors, and look at her.
Yeah.
She 50, 60 million a year, all by herself until recently. So that's quite impressive.
Did you ever cold call?
No, I never did that. I don't know why. I think more for me was I just really didn't know enough about the do not call registry, and so no, I never did that. But today that might not be bad. I think a lot of, I relied a lot on homes and land and real estate. I can't remember if that production came out once or twice a month. So you would end up with like an influx of people, and then you'd have to weed it all out. That's another thing I think too sometimes is that you get a hold of a buyer and they're not going anywhere. And you're like, okay, this is taking too long. But so many agents are not consistent at all. And I think if you just stick with it and just continue to email them and email them and email them, eventually they will come around. There's a gentleman, and until recently, I was doing my own emails. I didn't use the automated systems. So I can't tell you the amount of time I probably wasted in my life doing that. But I did this with him for like a year, and I could see that he would check them. So as long as he was checking them, okay. And he called me and he eventually bought. So it's not always overnight. Sometimes, people like to window shop.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a question. If you're going after expireds,
Yeah, I did do that too. I had a letter. I had a few listings off of that. I had a letter that I put together, and a lot of them that if memory serves me, that I had the most success with were the ones that were absentee. So they may have a tenant in there, or they may have been, had it rented and then had it vacant after a period of time. So I would write letters and then they would contact you back. But there's nothing wrong with that.
do you still actively, have you been doing that recently or
I
no?
have not. No,
Just 'cause
I've
the
done
market-
that for
yeah.
a long time.
One other thing that I thought about, what about with you having young children back in the day, did you take advantage of that? I've heard that can be very beneficial from
Oh,
a school
absolutely.
perspective. Okay, how did
Yeah.
you do that? Like just go to the events, just be a part of this culture?
So I ran the youth soccer club here in Oakley for years. That didn't hurt either.
Yeah.
Although that kind of probably, I don't know, by the end of that, I think I had aggravated more people than I had. So really, that was one of the reasons why I got out of it, because it was just a constant fight with parents and coaches, and it was just ridiculous. So that was really one of the reasons why I stepped away. But that was definitely a popularity contest because you were out in front of all of these parents all the time. And then I would volunteer at the school too, and you were in front of all of the same parents all the time. So I just went on a listing appointment this week with the parent that I had volunteered with when my kids were here in elementary school. So that does help too. They don't help anymore because they're older now. So but yeah, I do agree with that. But I think too, you'd probably volunteer up there without a kid. Would that be weird? Would that be,
Probably
yeah.
will.
Yeah, especially for a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you had some route, like me with Clay County soccer. Like I
And you
played
drive
there
an
for
unmarked white van.
And you drive an unmarked white
Yeah,
man.
see, so that's something that you can do is, I mean, even if you take on a U4 or U5 team, it's all of those, I know, but they're at least sweet. It's all of those parents, you know, you just have access to all of them. And that was one thing I did, like I was always team mom, I always, you know, den mom, whatever. And that was another thing, when my kids were in Boy Scouts, I made sure that the meetings were held here, so they knew that I worked here. They, you know, just and I always made sure that my work email address was my contact email address, so they always, that just a little bit of, hey, remember, every time you put it in, please be sure that you remember. And whenever I had to email out to the team about snacks or whatever, I always use my work email too, to try to just
Keep them thinking about you. Gotcha.
Do you think the time you put into that was worth?
Absolutely.
I mean,
Now,
that
as far as
wasn't
like running the soccer thing, no, because that was time, that was seriously time consuming.
was that your main purpose of doing so, or?
No, so that was, my main purpose of doing that.
Well, I mean, like, did you do that in hope of getting leads, or was it?
No, I
more
did
so
that
just
because
like
I
a
was
side?
tired of the way it was being run.
Okay.
Yeah. Your little Clay County soccer thing over there, it wasn't working for me. So, yeah, we took that back. That was really why I took it on. And then it was just a lot more than I probably should have taken on. But I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the kids, and I enjoyed all of that. It's the parents and the coaches that ruin
Can you think of any other networking opportunities that you've been presented with yourself or seen that you did take advantage of or that you wish you would have taken advantage of?
it. I'm sure there's hundreds. I'm
Yeah.
not very good at the B&I clubs. That's not really me. I don't like going into a room of 500 people I don't know and trying to make friends. I just don't do that very well.
Yeah,
So
not your cup of tea.
yeah, I can't say that I am that. Yeah, it has to be a little more organic for me. I get a
Okay.
little awkward and.
So you-
Smart. Do what makes you feel comfortable and what you think is going to bring you success.
So you never went down and what is it called?
The Chamber of Commerce?
Yes.
I did not. I know Kathy had looked into that, Kathy
Mhm.
Baird. I know she's coming in to talk. That may be
Yeah.
something she can speak on. We had discussed it at one point, but I never did it. And I know there's B&I. I know a lot of people do the B&I networking groups.
I've never heard of
I never
that.
did that either.
Yeah,
What's
that's
there's, what is it, Kiwanis? What is that one? What is it?
Kiwanis Club.
Yeah, I know that's like a networking type club too. I don't have any experience with those.
How long into the business did you see more referrals popping up than you working, or like leads and stuff like
It was probably 3 or 4 years. Once I came, that was one of the reasons why I was so afraid to leave Century 21 because, you know, you use your work email. Do you guys know why we use our work email?
Cover your ass.
Yes. So that was one of the reasons why I was afraid to leave, was because I was leaving all my contact information there. And it was like Watergate. I mean, when I went to go leave, I had to go over there in the middle of the night, Xerox copy everything, because we didn't have CRMs. We didn't have anything like that at that time, or at least Century 21 did not. So I had to get all of my information because as soon as I went in there and told her I was leaving, she was like, I'll take your key and please use the back door.
Wow.
It was terrible. And it was horrible because she had been such a great mentor to me. So not only was it was overwhelming to leave, but it was like I just lost my mentor. She hasn't spoken to me since.
that? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's okay. I didn't do anything wrong.
Right, exactly. You
Yeah.
just left.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking.
That was for what?
That was for Century 21.
No, but you left the company?
Yeah, yeah. What was the question?
When you got enough
Oh, okay.
referrals?
So it was probably around that time. When I left there, the market was taking, I mean, it was on a nosedive. I had 14 listings when I left there. I left 14 listings there. So, but you have to remember too, the market was a mess. I mean, I left 14 listings, probably 10 of them were a short sale listing, but it was still, money in pocket. So that hurt, but at that point I knew, I was like, I can make this happen, I can redo this. The market's going to get better, and I just have to be somewhere that I'm gonna have a better footing when the market does return. And I wanted something where I wanted to have more people, more like-minded people around me, and that was the reason why.
So, excuse me, so when you said that you left your listings, that means that you don't get any commission if they sold, is that what you're saying?
That is correct. So a listing belongs to your broker. You might be working the listing, but the listing actually belongs to the broker. So if you don't have it under contract, you leave the business there. And then, so that wasn't fun. But whatever.
So if you were starting again today, with the technology that you've got today, what would you suggest to new agents as far as putting yourself out there? How are you going to attack it?
Open house.
In the cheapest way possible.
Okay, I would definitely hit open house. I noticed that last year several of my sales came from open house, and I did the open houses the weekend that it went on the market.
On your own listing?
On my own listing, but I also would do them on somebody else's listing too. So I know I did one for the Hartley Group out at Jack's Beach last year. So I don't care where it was, I would, who had it listed, anybody's gonna let you do the open house with the listing as long as the owners are okay with it. So if it goes on the market on Wednesday, then that Saturday or Sunday is when I wanna do the open house. And if it's like $275 and under, I would do it Saturday and Sunday. I made up those little buyer booklets, those little buyer guides. I had those with me, and I would have the information about the house with me. And as the people were walking through, and there were some times where there were so many people there. Like there was one that I had in Oakleaf where there was another agent from another company that came. He was outside poaching people.
Oh, wow.
That's no joke. And one of the people came in and said, "Hey, is that your partner out there?"
Oh.
And I was like, "I don't know who you're talking." She's like, "Well, there's a gentleman out there handing out his cards." So I had to go out into the front yard and be like, "Hi, how you doing?"
Yeah, get out of here.
And then you found his farm area.
Yeah.
And destroyed it.
Ruin you.
Ruin your crops.
So, yeah, I think there's more buyers now who are trying to go through this process themselves, where before they would see your information in a magazine and they would have to call you to talk to you about it. And even though we still had MLS, I just think Zillow and Realtor.com were really not where they are today. We weren't doing the Matterport tours. I was doing slideshows that I would set to music and uploading those. So the market was different. So I think now the house would definitely be what I would be doing.
Okay.
And again, I think I would farm. But again, I don't think you have to farm 500 houses. Pick 100 and just be consistent.
And would you spread those out? Like for instance, say like, would you attack one neighborhood in Oakleaf, or would you do like maybe 5 in one, 5 in another, 5?
I would probably pick the same one, with the hopes that once those, because if you like, I keep thinking of Chestwood Chase because I just left there. But when you drive into Chestwood Chase, that is on a loop. The whole community is one big loop with a small street that drives through it. So if you have a sign here, and I do recommend getting your own signs, even though buyers now, I don't know how much they're calling you off of your signs. I can't imagine that we're doing much by people driving around anymore. It's more the people around there that are just like, hey, Shelby's sold out. Oh, look, Shelby's sign's over there again. There's Shelby's sign again. So that's why I think doing an area where you've got the same, you're doing the same streets over and over. It's not just your postcards that are going to get their attention. It's your sign that's eventually going to get their attention as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I wish I would have done sooner. And I would not pick an area. I mean, I would, you know, I find somewhere that they're selling close to 300,000. I mean, it's gonna cost you just as much to farm there as it is gonna cost you to farm a community that's selling for $1.75. So why do that?
And use the CRM as well, would you tell new agents, like in those?
Yeah, I
Get
mean,
some systems in place?
Yes, I would. I really wish I would have been more organized with that, because a couple summers ago, I hired my youngest son and I said, all right, these are all the transactions I've ever done. Go back, see how many people still live in these homes, but I didn't have email addresses. For like the first 5 or 6 years of my business, I didn't have email addresses because I didn't bother to keep all that information and collect it. I kept their address and their name, but it never dawned, we didn't have these types of software systems in place, or at least where I was working did not. And Watson didn't either at that time. So their email address I didn't realize was going to be as important as it really is today. So I feel that I get more when I send a postcard to my COI than I do when I send it out to the Oaks. But I just think you have to do both.
So, here's a question. Craig and I both kind of feel the same way. I don't know about everybody else in here. One fear that both of us have is being too sales pitchy.
Of course.
Is that something you try to stay away from?
Yes. So my listing presentation is script. Just because if I don't stay on task, you're like a shiny ball. We'll be talking about God only knows what by the time we leave. But I don't pressure. I'm not good at that. I don't respond well to that. I'm going to clam up and leave if that's how you approach me. So I don't, like at the end of my listing presentation, I don't say, hey, I've got the paperwork ready, guys, ready to sign. I kind of wait and feel their vibe, how they are, and then, I'll say, you guys have questions? Is this something we want to get started with? Would you like to think about it for the night? They're not going to, if they like you enough, letting them go to sleep is not going to not get you the listing. So I don't really do well with high pressure sales, and then you get in, and that same thing with the buyer. If you high pressure them and then they get into a contract, they're only going to have buyer's remorse, and now you got to deal with that.
Yeah.
That's messy.
So, backing on that, so with your farming, like with your postcards or with your CRM emails,
I never say like call me, or it's more like the 3 listings. Obviously, I space those out when I send those for just sold, and then I did one for Happy Holidays. I did one for Halloween. I'll do one for the New Year. I did one for the New Year. I did not do one for the New Year. I meant to. I didn't do that. I'll do one for Valentine's Day. I just kind of go with the more generic things than the whole, I'm so awesome, call me.
So like you're just like, hey, just want to reach out and wish you like Merry Christmas or what?
Yeah, my postcard, so this is no lie, it will take me 3 or 4 hours to make a postcard because I don't know what to say on it. I don't want it to be sales pitchy, so I will Google like what to say on a Halloween postcard. I'm not kidding. I will obsess over, because I do think that they're, and they're probably not even reading it. Yeah. It's just, the front is always basic, and I always do the jumbos, so that way it stands out, so I know they're at least going to see it. And I use the same picture over and over and over. That's something else I think you have to do is, you can't change a picture every single time you send out a postcard. It's name recognition, but it's also, we love to put our face on everything we do, so you might as well have it be repetition.
So could you give us an example of like what a Christmas card would say?
So,
is it super basic, just like Happy Holidays, or do you like go into like a little bit?
Yeah, it's usually, no, I don't. It's like wishing you and yours, a happy holiday, many laughs and lots of laughs and lots of love in your home. I'm not. Oh, I order that.
Probably.
Yeah,
Okay.
that comes straight from Deluxe Marketing right out the door. Yeah. Another good one that I am about to do for the Oaks that I haven't done yet is, this is like the best time of year to do it too, because you can do the report card for the neighborhood. So you can go in and say, these are the homes that sold in your neighborhood, this is the average sales price. And on this one, I will say, if you have any questions about what your home could sell for, call me. And I am gonna go through and see, so like, if you happen to, for some reason, sell more than one home in a neighborhood, like, what I'm gonna do right now is go through the Oaks and see how many agents repeatedly sold in that neighborhood compared to me. Where am I in the average? Did I sell more than anyone else in that neighborhood? Because if I did, then I'm the #1 agent for that particular part of the community. And I will say that, not every time I send out a postcard, because that's tacky to me. But I will, on the report card one, I will say, this is the report card for the Oaks. I sold more homes in here than any other agent in the calendar 2020 year. But you better make sure that your information is true.
Yeah.
And then I will send that out.
And you're just making your own report card by pulling the statistics off MLS and then just putting that analytics onto the postcard.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is your CRM emails the same thing? Pretty much, just like very generic, or you know how some agents like have like the huge bio and
I don't do that.
yeah.
I mean, maybe you should. I don't know. I'm not good. I mean, honestly, the market is changing.
Yeah.
Like, my brother and I are 10 years apart. He's 10 years younger than I am. And he's always all over me about not having videos. Not videoing yourself, that is, so far outside my comfort zone, I don't want to do that.
You just hate being on camera, huh?
Yeah, I don't like that. Like, what do you say? What do you do? Like, I'm not, yeah. So I think there's things that you guys will do that will be beneficial to your business that I should be doing, but I don't know that I will ever do them. So it is a little different getting started today than it was when I started. Maybe a little bit harder. I don't know.
Is there a training or a coach or a coaching program that you recommend?
Ninja.
I haven't done that yet. Are they going to do that again?
They're planning on it, yes. It's better in person.
Yes,
And
I know.
obviously with COVID, it's put a big delay on that. But yeah, the plan is to bring that back once COVID allows.
I do think I will do that. I've heard really good things about that. I know there's a few agents in here that, I've gone to listen to a few things. I've gone to a few conventions, and that, I think it's really all the same information, maybe relayed to you in a different way. But here's what it comes down to. If you don't work, you're not gonna make any money. That's the butt of this business. Last year, the bulk of your money is usually made between March and say October. I think we've seen in the last 2 years, kind of things spread out a little bit more because rates have been the way that they are and the market's been really good to us. But one thing I learned the hard way a few years in a row was, come January, it was like, what are we gonna eat? Ramen noodles? What are we gonna do? So you learn to hoard to get you through the winter. And that took me a little while to understand and figure out. So if there's anything I can recommend to you is, number one, pay quarterly on your taxes. Once you start really making some money, that will bite you one good time and you'll never do it again. Because no taxes are coming out of what you're making, so you have to pay quarterly. And number two would be, just because you're making all that money between March and October doesn't mean that November, December, January, February are going to be just as good to you. So keep that savings in there so that you're not freaking out, because I do think that's what makes for a messy agent. You can tell when you're doing a deal with an agent who the difference between this deal going through is between her or him making their mortgage payment and not. And that equals desperation, which can equal to errors. And you don't want to have to be put in those positions. Am I going to pay my bills, or should I just go ahead and get this done this way so that I can get the transaction done so I can go ahead and pay my bills? It's not a good position to be. It happens. It's happened to me plenty of years in a row. But I think you get yourself into a little more of a sticky situation when you're in that financial situation. So that's, what was the question?
That had to do with your any trainings or coachings that you would recommend. And I think you made a good point that you have to believe in it, believe in the training, and if you're going to go through it, be consistent with it, work it.
That's it.
Right?
I think it's she said it's all the same. I think it's just who you relate to more.
It's just regurgitated to you in a different way.
Right.
Having a plan, having a to-do list, I live and die by my to-do list. If I don't make my to-do list the night before, I guarantee you I will not remember half of what I was supposed to do. And then it'll be them calling me to say, hey, I was looking for this. And yeah, because I didn't have it on my to-do list. So I think be consistent with your customers, but I agree. The door knocking, they're gonna tell you, the postcards. They may be able to help you with social media. I'm not good at that. And you guys are probably really good at that. I'm not good at that. And I think that can be an organic way to bring in business too. I think sometimes I see some of the people I'm friends with, I'm like, that is so clever and cute and subtle. I'm all for subtle. I just think it works better than, in your face. I don't respond well to that. But last year, when the market was firing in the peak of it, I'm not kidding you, I was working 60 to 70 hours a week. That's no exaggeration. So if you're not willing to get up and get started and go to bed at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning some nights, or 6 or 7 nights in a row, or not take a day off at all, this is not business.
What is a typical morning getting up day for you?
I was just about to ask typical day.
So I'm usually out of bed by 5:30, 6 o'clock. I'm in the gym for an hour, and then I'm home kind of going over what I can on my to-do list, and then I will go out on appointments, and then from there it just kind of depends. Where I think we get into trouble and where it's hard to continue making more money and making more volume is you have so much paperwork. Like there's so much little stuff that has to be done. You can't be out in the field on listing appointments and showing property to 2 or 3 people in a day and having a listing appointment. You're not getting home and back in front of your computer until 6 o'clock at night. Well, now I have all of this stuff that I have to get done. Maybe buyer A wanted to make an offer. Maybe buyer 2 wanted to make an offer. Maybe I have an offer or 3 or 4 offers that I have to present to my listing. So that's where your day just gets longer and longer and longer. So sometimes, and then your phone's ringing the whole time. So you start doing something, somebody needs something, so you have to stop that to get, and then you gotta get back on track. So sometimes the best work I get done is from like 9 o'clock at night when my house is quiet, and 12 or 1 o'clock at night.
I love that.
Because I'm ready to die because by 9:30, 10 o'clock I'm in bed. So, come midnight I'm struggling, but that's the nuts and bolts of it. Like, balance is great, and if you can figure out how to balance your life truly, I will sit through that class. But I think it's just when the market is firing, you just have to be working. That's just what it comes down to, is sometimes you're gonna make it to that soccer game and sometimes you're not. It's just the truth of it.
There's peaks and valleys with everything, so it's yep.
If you looked at my business, I am that roller coaster, I live on it. I get really busy and I can't keep up, and then I don't farm. So then my production goes down. And then I'm like, okay, I've got breathing room. So you start getting back on clip when where you should be. And then you go back up. And that happens to me a lot during the spring and summer, like those postcards we're talking about. 3 or 4 months will go by and I don't send one. I'm like, oh my gosh. But that's usually because I'm beginning to slow down a little bit. So I'll get a postcard out. Maybe I'll do it for a month or 2, and then I'll get too busy. So it's just being consistent and organized.
When you say that you're doing it, sending out the postcards, how often are you sending one out every week?
Every month.
Just every month.
I did read an article about guerrilla mailing. So one thing that I read that makes sense to me is when you're just starting out in a neighborhood, that you guerrilla mail every single week. You send something out for 6 weeks, and then you go to once a month. I think even if you did that every other week, and then went to once a month, I think you would probably have some of the same success with that. But I guess the idea is to plant your name in their minds for that 6 weeks in a row. And then, but if I don't know that people, how many people check their mailbox every day?
2 weeks.
See, you do it every day. I'm not kidding you. We have the cluster boxes. It is so often where our mail is overflowed to where you have to pick up a package.
So many things from KW is shame.
So for me, I don't know that, the guerrilla mailing is actually as useful as it used to be, because I do think you can get 2 or 3 postcards built up in there.
But what do you think about that? Because we we always have this debate about like if you were to do a billboard or something like that. Like I feel like that sometimes like can cheapen your name.
Sure, a billboard?
I think a billboard, but what did you think we're mailing to? Like if you were to get that many letters from one person.
Be
I don't know if I would
overexposed?
notice it.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if I would notice.
Because I always try to put myself in their shoes. Like if I had somebody email me something once a week for like 6
I would
weeks,
block them.
right? That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
like, I feel like you're almost.
Well, and that's how I kind of feel about the newsletters and that, and it works for some people. But for me, but you know what, now that I'm saying this, I don't unfollow or unsubscribe to those people that are sending me this because I don't want to hurt their feelings. So I guess I still see, yeah, I know. I guess I still see their names. I just don't ever click on it.
I know that's what Ricky says. Ricky's like, it doesn't matter if they read it, just your name in.
And so as I was saying that, I guess, yeah, that probably is
I
how.
feel like physical mailers. I don't know.
I physical mail. I don't do much with the emailing, with the
Yeah.
I just don't do much of that. And I think that's probably because I don't care to get them. But as I'm saying this to you, I certainly don't ask to, I mean, and these are agents in the office that are emailing me this stuff, and I'm still keeping on to it, because I don't want to unsubscribe and hurt anyone's feelings. So maybe it does work.
Shelby, one thing that's always really impressed me about you is your positivity and how you can have a bunch of bad stuff going on and you're just always in a positive mood and you look at things glass half full versus half empty.
Yes.
Have you always been like that, or is that something that you've had to adapt? Because we get a lot of rejection in this business, we get told no a lot, and there's a lot of negative things, and that's something, again, that's impressed me about you, and I think what your customers like about you and how you've been so successful is that positivity. Would you agree, and what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I've probably always been a fairly positive person. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's not gonna change. Your outcome is not gonna change based on, I can only control what I do. So whatever I bring to the table and how I present myself, that's all I can control. Whatever they have going on after I leave or circumstances in their life, I can't control that. And I guess from doing it for so long, I don't take it personal anymore. Not everybody is going to love you. Not everybody is going to have that connection with you. That, somebody's not gonna have the same connection with me that they're gonna have with Craig. So that's okay. There's other business out there. There is enough to go around. So do I get frustrated? Sure. I can't stand it when I don't win the listing. I will obsessively watch how long it took them to sell it, what they sold it for, who is the agent that they went with, what is that person doing? I mean, I don't like that. That bothers me, but that bothers me because I didn't get the listing. There was something I did during the presentation that they didn't like. That's what I'm looking to fix. Not necessarily that they don't like me, but what went on that I could have done better to have gotten that business. You have to have thick skin. If you're gonna not and take everything personal, you're not gonna last.
That's me. I'll take it. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
Have you had a situation where you did that obsession and then you figured out what you could do differently on a next
Sometimes
point?
I think some of it is just, some of it's price point. Like sometimes you'll see, and I've learned, sometimes I'll price something and then I'll see that they listed it for $25,000 or $30,000 over what I said, and they got it.
Wow.
So sometimes I think it's also being willing to take that risk, and in this market, I'm definitely a little more willing to take a risk of overpricing something than I would be 10 years ago. So I think you get comfortable with that too. And I'm far more comfortable now saying to a seller, look, we can try it your way. I have nothing to support your numbers. So when it comes time for an appraisal, I will do my best to be as positive as I can and provide all the information to the appraiser, but we are on our own. There's no way for me to support this number. So I feel like as long as I'm upfront and honest, you're not gonna later on at the low appraisal say, I told you so, but you're like, So I think the more you you can prepare them for the worst case scenario, the better off you are, because you're no longer dealing with worst case scenario. Everybody's mentally prepped for it. So it's not that you're trying to get them to expect the worst case scenario, but as long as you've brought it up and you've put it all out there, the transaction is just going to go a little bit smoother than trying to say, okay, this could happen, I'm not going to bring it up, but this could happen, and then it happens, and now you're trying to make up for time and trying to get them to understand what's going on when you could have just done that before.
How did you get so good at CMS? You think it's just experience, or like, did you sit down and practice them for a while? Or?
Because you still do it the hard way. You don't. You do it manually.
Yeah.
You're
I think
CMS.
I think that's the proper way. But.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I can't.
Is there like a busy season where you just had to do a ton of them?
I mean, when I got into the market, it was like this. So it was, yeah, you did a lot of them. I really can't even remember who taught me how to do a CMA, honestly. I think it was probably just piecing together what I saw some people do and then doing them myself. I don't know. Sorry. I don't really know. There is a spreadsheet that a gentleman that used to work here, he showed me, and I do use that. If I know I'm going up against another agent and I know there's a lot, in this market you really don't need it, but if the market changes, that's something that I'll teach you guys how to do, because that's definitely something that helps. You're showing them it's a sales spreadsheet, you're showing them what's listed, what's under contract, what has sold, and what has expired. When the market slows down, those expireds are important, because it shows the new seller, or the seller who wants to sell their home, hey, dollar per square foot, they're listed here, but you see that they're selling, going under contract for dollar per square here, and then even lower for the solds. And these high guys over here, none of them made it to contract. So you can show them, look, these people tried to get that, it didn't work out, but these folks over here who are under contract, this is where they were dollar per square foot. So sometimes if I know I'm going into an appointment, long story short, if I know I'm going into an appointment and I know somebody wants to be too high, I will go back and see what's expired and see if I can find something that I'll bring a couple with me, and if I can't talk them down off the ledge, then I'll show them, hey, look, these two people tried to do exactly what you were doing, and they did not meet success. But these people who were pending and these people who were sold, they had success. It's not always going to work, because in this market, you just don't have the expires, do you?
Not really.
Imagine. Yeah.
Okay, with the listing that I sold, the guy, he straight up, from the beginning, without even me seeing the house, I will take no less than $250.
Yeah.
He straight up said that, and I know it's not much, $10 million, but he said,
Yeah, no.
he said,
one counts.
I will take no less than $250. I said, okay, no problem, but I got to see the house first. And he was like, okay, but I ain't taking no. And that was his attitude all the way through.
Yeah.
No matter what I showed him, even the banks and the other agent contacted me and was like, where did you get this number from? How did you? I was like, this is what he wants.
And that's what you say. That's all you can say.
Yeah, he's like, this is what he wants. There's nothing around here over 225, and he wants 250. This is what he wants. So, and it appraised for 244, and he was happy with that. And then he told me, I didn't think I was going to get over 225 for it. After it appraised at 244.
Yeah. So sometimes in those situations, what was the offer that he took? 250?
He
250 offer?
He took the 250.
And then it appraised short.
Exactly.
So that's good. But you're going to have sellers like that. I mean, I still have sellers like that.
Okay.
And sometimes I'm like, okay. But once you get an offer, I believe we are so quick, because everything is so easy I'll email you the offer and we'll go over it on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
That's the easy way out. So if you've got multiple offers or you've got full price offers, that's easy. You can present over the phone, let's go over the contract together on the computer, but when you have that kind of seller, you have to be there. You have to be there looking them in the eye. You need to be there with your comps. And it's harder for him to tell you, I'm not doing that, when you're there with the offer in hand and proof that your number is just not what the market is bringing. than to be on the phone at home. And it's easy for him to be like, no way, call me, I'm not gonna do it. Not gonna happen. And he can hang up. Where I'm in your living room, I'm here, you could sell your house right now. That to me, it's just a little bit of a different
Well, I did good then.
dynamic.
Because I was always in his face.
Yeah, that's exactly
I was
it. Yeah.
always in his face.
That,
So,
that
yeah.
type A personality, sometimes you have to bring that type A back. Like, look, I hear you, I get what you're saying. I'm just telling you, the market is not doing what you want it to do. I can't change that. And I think too, like, a lot of times when I'm pulling up to a listing appointment on my drive there, I will do my listing appointment out loud in my car. That's terrible. But I will. And yes, cheesy as it is, I will amp myself up. I'm like, I'm gonna get it. I'm going to get this. I deserve this. I'm going in there and I am going to get this. And I go in there with that belief. If you go in there without believing you are the best thing that they're gonna see all day, you're not gonna get it. Half the time, you just fake it till you make it.
What do you say?
That's the yeah, I mean, really. So, yeah. And you've had, why should I, you get that question, why should I hire you? Because I will give you 100%. I will do my job. I will not put a sign in your yard, and I will just go away. I will be here from beginning to end. I will answer all your questions. I will get the job done.
Jesus.
And you just make them believe that.
I was right on the money, and I was just acting me.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I'm gonna throw everything in this kitchen sink at this thing. Trust
And
me,
that's something
you're
too,
mine.
as a new agent,
Yeah.
that's to me a way to counteract. So for me to say, look, this is my volume that I've done last year. This is how long, like I've had a few listings last year that killed me, because sometimes your days on the market, especially in a market like this, you can say, look, my average listing sells in 24 hours. If you have those stats, use that in your listing presentation. Or my average listing sold for 3% over asking price. Use that to your advantage. There we go. I haven't told you.
I think I know. Were you gonna say play into being a new agent?
Oh, playing into being an agent. So you can, one of the things I think new agents always think is, I don't have a background, I don't have anything to go. You just tell them, if they ask you if you're, yes, and you are the only customer I have right now.
Yep, that's the only thing I can tell the dude. I'm like, look.
I am all yours.
Yep.
Full attention.
Yep.
And some of them, okay, sounds good.
Yep. That was
And
the only
utilize,
thing.
like, you have a broker, you have a full-time admin, you're with Watts.
Oh,
you're
yeah.
at the top,
I told him that too.
You're not just getting me, you're getting everything
My
that
team.
comes with me and a team behind me. So that's how you can kind of spin that in a positive light as well.
Take us through what you do with a buyer that you're going to show a listing. What do you bring with you? What do you point out? And how do you follow up on that one showing
Okay.
for a buyer?
Okay, so I bring the MLS sheet. If we're only seeing one house, and I think this is gonna be a good match, I will bring the property disclosure and probably the property taxes with me.
Okay.
If we're seeing, 9 or 10 of them, I'm gonna bring the MLS
Sure.
sheet, and that's all I'm gonna bring. But I bring a copy for me and a copy for them, and then I highly encourage them to make notes
Yes.
on their copy so they know when they go home. When I go through the house, the first thing I do is, obviously, if I'm only seeing one, I try to make sure that I am there first. Blinds are open, lights are on, everything is set up. If you're seeing a train of them, you can't do that. So I just hurry in, I get as many lights on as I possibly can, I open all of the doors. The back door, you need to open the sliding glass door, especially if they have those triple sliders, you always open those. Most people don't know what they are, don't realize, and it just looks better. So you just get that wide open. And then I'll walk the property. I kind of leave them alone a little bit and let them, and then I look. So if they're on the guest side and maybe I'm looking at the master, it takes you half the time that it takes them. And the whole time I'm looking at the ceiling, I'm looking at the floors, I'm looking in the shower, I'm looking for big things. Are there stains? Is the flooring missing somewhere? I'm looking for easy finding items. And then I've learned, you just shut up. Just stop talking. You talk too much. So you point out, if it's got a great lanai, I love the lanai. Good view, nice view, I like that. Or if I see some things that need to have consideration, like, hey, the dog ate half the carpet in that bedroom. Did you notice that? Or there's a big stain over here. That may be something we need to ask about. don't take them all the way to, it's gonna need a new roof. We don't know that. Maybe the roof was just repaired, they just haven't had a chance to fix the ceiling. Maybe it's a new leak, they don't know about it. I just say, I will follow up and ask those questions if this is the home for you. So I learned a long time ago that what may be the right floor plan for them is not the right floor plan for me. So I may say, oh, this just feels a little confined, where they may have been thinking the whole time, I love this place.
Yeah, right.
And now I have just put doubt in their mind because I've said, it just feels confined to me. Just shut up.
So based on that, do you ever get worried? I was worried when I first started showing houses. I don't know if that's laminate, I don't know if that's porcelain tile versus
You can't
this.
know everything.
And
Yeah.
I got this crazy mindset, and I finally went, no. After I had taken the first buyer out, I was like, they didn't even ask me any of that.
Yeah, no, I won't.
But do you feel there's any need, or would it ever help you to know this type of flooring, this type of carpeting, would it benefit you as an
Are you
agent?
getting at like if they have like some nice upgrade to know to point
That you
out?
would, to know to point it out, yeah.
Yeah, I think you learn that over time. I think walking on enough floors, you figure out, okay, this is glue down wood,
Sure.
this is, a laminate floating floor. So if I feel really strongly that it's a real hardwood floor, I'll say, I think this is really hardwood. I may point some things out like that, like, hey, they did the tile backslash, everything else we've seen hasn't done that. I will point some of that out, but you also have to, you just want to be careful with what you're saying too, because you don't want to say that you think that's real hardwood and then later on it comes out that it's, luxury vinyl plank.
Yeah.
But it's never like you see on HGTV where you walk in and go, and now to the right is our formal dining room. Notice the blah, 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 blah.
I don't.
I've never run into another agent who has done that.
No, I
Did
don't.
you?
I don't know how many, no, not really.
No.
Yeah, most of the time, at this point in the market that we're in, you pretty much see the same homes over and over again. So I think probably 60 to 70% of the time, I could walk into a house and tell you where the master bedroom's gonna be and the guest. So I will say those types of things. Like, hey, master bedroom's gonna be off to the right over here. Like at an open house, I'm at the front door, I open the door, and I'm like, hey, my name is Shelby, thanks so much for coming. What we're dealing with here is a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, priced at $275. You're gonna find the master off to the right, guest rooms are gonna be over there to the left. We've got a great view in the backyard. You guys take a peek, let me know if you have any questions, and we'll take it from there. And then I just leave them be. I wanna be left alone. I don't want you, that's back to that salesman thing. Don't follow me around the lot. Just let me look, give me a second.
What if it's, will you follow them at a distance if it's not vacant?
Yeah, to a point. I'm not,
You don't hover.
I don't hover. I've been doing this for 16 years and I've never had an issue with somebody stealing something. Now,
But you did have the couch ordeal.
which one was that?
The little kid was running on the
Oh,
couch.
yeah, I did. The guy, that wasn't my listing though.
Yeah. But,
Oh, that was my listing, that wasn't my showing.
oh, okay, I thought.
Yeah. Well, I had one, you're right, I did have one where I had to tell the kids get off the, yeah, I did have that. Where they were running around on the couch, and I was like, yeah, get off the couch. So I do, you see stuff out of control like that, you do have to step in and be like, look, you can't run on the couch with your shoes on, come on, this isn't our house. But for the most part, no, I don't try to hover, but I will, I'll walk into the room with them and, what do you guys think? What do you think of the floor plan? And sometimes what I'm asking too is, what do you think about the house in general, so that I know what you're looking for? Like, what do you think about this floor plan? I'm not asking them, is this the house for you? Are you guys ready to write an offer? It's, what do you think about this? What do you think about the kitchen being here, open to the family room? What do you think about the master being on one side, or all the bedrooms on one side? You want their feedback too, and sometimes they need a little help imagining themselves in there as well.
I got a few. One, just to comment on that, for anybody who hasn't heard, Shelby gave me great advice and said, if you're showing with children, it's a lot better to just take the children on their own tour and let the adults go. Because
I do
I
that
was
a lot.
having that problem with the family, there were 4 kids, and it was just a nightmare, so I just like, which one's gonna be your bedroom?
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
like too. Which
I
one
do
you
that
get
all the
to?
time.
Yeah.
Just, mom and dad need a second to talk. I I had 2 kids, I still have 2 kids. they're 18 months apart. So I know what it's like to try to corral that cattle and still try to make decisions. So to what Kevin was just talking about, or Andrew was talking about, sorry, I was just looking at Kevin. I do try to engage with the children. And what room would you pick out, you know, or let's go look in the backyard. That way, mom and dad are able to have a discussion that's going to be beneficial to you, and the kids are occupied and not, you know, jumping up and down.
Instead of in the house because it was so stressful.
Yeah, it's terrible. It is. Some people, I don't, yeah.
And so how do you deal, I guess this is kind of two-parter. How do you deal with difficult buyers? And then also, do you do anything to separate your offer? Like, are you just straightforward with them from the start? Like, for instance, right now, I'm still working with that couple from that last February.
Jeez. I mean, I've had buyers like that. Some of them are never gonna work out.
Yeah.
Like, I have one that I've been working with for probably 2 years, and I'm now done. I've just decided I have given you enough time. We have written enough offers. You've been under contract enough times. I cannot invest in you any longer. You can't write letters anymore. I used to encourage my
They
folks.
always try to write letters.
Yeah. You're not supposed to write letters anymore. That's a violation of Fair Housing Act.
Yeah.
Dang.
So that's done. That's what I always encourage my people to write letters. And the letters got out of control. Like, there's pictures all over them, and there's all, I mean, it's just crazy now. And the escalatory clause. That's really the only thing. And I just encourage them, look, once a buyer has lost a couple of times, they're discouraged, they're frustrated, they think you're the problem sometimes. But you also just have to, this is the market, regardless of who you're working with, this is the market. We have to bring our best offer to the table. So if the best offer is that you have to ask for closing cost assistance, in this market, it's just gonna take a while.
And that's what I keep trying to tell them, because they're asking for closing assistance, but then it's
It's hard.
also, you can't really do an escalatory when you're asking for closing because.
Yeah, your net is your net.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Do you send out, so you said you like to tour the house with them to see how they like the floor plan and how everything is. Do you do the email listings or do you send them out yourself?
So up until, I don't know, it was like 2 months ago, I did it myself. Yeah, and I would go through. So the one thing I don't like about the automated is it sends a bunch of stuff that you know they're not gonna be interested in.
Right, exactly.
So so what I've been trying to do now that I've been doing that more is say, look, I've got you on an automated system. Don't think I'm crazy. Some of the stuff you're gonna receive, you're not gonna like, just weed right through it. I don't know, I haven't been doing it long enough to tell you which way I think it's better. But I think too, it's changed also where buyers are, you know, they're out there looking for their own stuff. They've got their Zillow set and they're gonna receive it just as soon, you know, they're hot. As soon as it's on the market, they're contacting you. Like, I just had a girl contact me before we started this. She was like, this just came on the market. It probably came on the market 5 minutes ago. So, but she knows now, you know, we have to go see it as soon as we can. So I don't know which way is better on that yet.
That helps you. The way I spin it is just like, I'd rather send you everything
Yeah.
than only send
Make
you
a
what I
decision
think
for
you're
you.
gonna like, and
Yeah.
then you can make changes to it.
I think sometimes I didn't like to send everything because you're gonna wanna see it,
Yeah.
and I can tell you right now, you're not gonna like it.
My Arlington couple was out, can we look at these 3 today? I'm like, I know you're not gonna like that one, so why are we doing
Yeah, and so, and I've been on plenty of those appointments. But yeah, the same girl last night, I was like, look, it's on the 3rd floor, there's no elevator. How many have we seen that you don't wanna trudge your groceries up 3 floors? Let's stop looking at 3rd floor units.
Yeah.
She's like, you're right. But there again, that was my automated email. She's like, you emailed it to me. And me too. So yeah, I gotta get better with that, but I don't,
Do they have a 1st floor option?
Yeah, they do. You can ask what unit or.
yeah, she's a mess. She doesn't want to be on the 3rd floor because she doesn't want her son jumping up and down, which I get. She doesn't want to be on the 1st floor because she doesn't want to hear her neighbors above her. Yeah, now we're
But then
like,
if you're on the second floor, you're still gonna hear people.
absolutely, yeah. So we either need an elevator to the third floor, or we really need a town hall. That's what
Like Craig and I have asked
Keep them going, Craig, got some good ones?
Bobby.
I want to
Isaiah,
know, what, Shelby, what do you want to learn from new agents?
Ooh.
Or what,
Yeah,
okay.
I guess probably what's working for you, your fresh set of eyes. I mean, we get stuck in, you know, I get stuck in the way that I do things just because it's how I know how to do it. Like, you know, full search in MLS. It took me, I finally had to call Kevin because I was like, I can't figure out how to find a rental. Like, so learning how to do things new ways that probably make more sense when I'm just so used to doing them a different way, I just continue to do them a different way. So probably how you're finding business, what's working for you.
What, you're a broker also, right?
No.
Okay.
I took the class, and I passed the class test, I just never.
Okay, what would you want to see in a new agent if you were a broker saying, okay, that person, they're doing,
You're doing a cross sale with them or whatnot, what would you look for?
yeah, or, you know, what would tell you that person has something that will take him for do something, you know?
Okay, what's a good question? Let me think.
Not wearing hats in the office.
I definitely would stay away from people who wear all black.
I would too. I would too.
Oh, hey, Bobby.
Hey, Jack.
I think just the willingness to, A, put in the work.
Okay.
And be present and be there. And B, the other part is, you're not gonna know everything. So it's okay as a new agent to say, hey, or at least with me, I'm not really sure what we should do, but this is a situation that I have on my side. How can we work through this? I think that there's so many times agents think it's like there's this battle between buyer and seller. You're not gonna get anywhere. My favorite transactions are when I actually enjoy working with the other party. Like, we're here for the same goal. Why do we have to fight our way through
Right,
this
how
whole
can we
thing?
make it work?
Yeah, so I think sometimes as a new agent, you can kind of get, like, I have one right now where I'm like, okay, you're new, I got it. Because everything's been a fight. Like, the addendum, well, you're making that change, you must type the addendum, and your folks must do it first. And there was just this other little thing that needed a date, and her party was going to be signing it. So she contacts me, she's like, you must put the date in before my sellers will sign. Are you crazy? Like,
Yeah.
why are you trying to make this transaction so difficult? Just work together. You're not gonna know everything. I think as a new agent, you're expected, you think you should be an attorney and a CPA and an agent all in the same. And I also think sometimes you get agents that think it's gonna be an easy dollar, and they're just not willing to do the work.
Gotcha.
So you can't find them, they're not answering their phones, or whatever the case may be, and it's just like growing.
I think it's
Cats,
I think
gotcha.
most of it comes down to availability. That's
Yeah.
my biggest pet peeve in this business. Like calling agents that have voicemails full that don't respond to text messages or phone calls, and
Yeah.
leave a message. It's like, what
Yeah.
am I supposed to do?
Because then you look bad for your customers because you're not providing the information as quickly as you're wanting to receive it, so, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't, a new agent doesn't bother me, honestly. I just want to try to work through the transaction and make it smooth, so quit fighting all the time. Everything doesn't have to be this contest and argument. Let's just figure the puzzle out together and get it done.
Okay.
What would you say your listing success rate is on these interviews?
I'd probably say 90 to 95%.
Jesus. That's good.
Relocation where they have to interview multiple agents.
Yeah.
So I think that just speaks to how great that percentage is, because a lot of us, you know, we have leads that were guaranteed the listing, so it's an easy listing presentation, but Shelby's not always guaranteed that. She's got to go up against, you know, the heavy hitters and other brokerages, and for her to be able to win those listings, I think speaks volumes to the agent that she is.
One thing I do hear is a lot in my presentations is you came prepared. So just showing up with nothing doesn't work. And there's some agents in our office that do that, and they've done very, very well. If you're going up against somebody else in another brokerage, you can't just show up with your awesomeness. You need to bring something. You need to bring, this is what's active, this is what's pending. You need to educate your seller. They have probably already educated themselves on Zillow and every other, value, any way they can. They've probably already looked it up. But you're the professional, you're the expert. Whether you feel like you're the expert that day or not, you're pretending to be that expert, and you've got to give them the information and educate them. That's your job. And then you have to tell them what you're going to do, but you have to do it. If I'm going to give you a binder and I'm going to boost your ad on Facebook, and it takes you 2 weeks to get the binder to your house, for 14 days, they thought about your binder not being there. So if you're going to say that you're going to do something, you just have to do it. If you don't feel like you're going to do a binder, why bring it up? Don't even bring it up. But I think professional photography, the Matterport tours, all of that is important. Whether you think it's going to last 24 hours or not, it's not about, am I going to need that to sell the home? It's about getting the listing. So if I have to spend X amount of dollars to get the listing, well, that's the cost of doing business. That's what I'm going to do. Could you, you don't have to do all of that right now because the market's moving so well, but that could be the difference between getting the listing and not.
And I always say to add on that, it's like an interview. When somebody else looks at Shelby's listings on the internet, even if it's sold in 12 hours, they see the great photos, the drone photography, the Matterport. Yeah. Oh, look what Shelby's going to do for me. Whereas if you have half-assed photos, they're going to maybe have the doubts on, do I really want to hire Shelby if she's using these? I know it went quickly because the market's like this, but is it really worth using Shelby? So every listing you take, in my opinion, is like a job interview, and it's going to live on the internet or the MLS forever. So I think it's extremely important to have that